and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 scary Pixar theories part 2. You guys seem to really be in it for part 1. You loved it, I get it. Although, if you haven't seen part 1, don't worry, there is a link in the description box and also in the cards above my head. I've always got time to chat Pixar, and we are back at it again by popular demand. But before I get into this video, I want to ask you guys, who is your favourite Pixar character? Mine has to be the aliens from Toy Story or Merida from Brave. Both great. While you're down there, why don't you like and share this video? And if you guys want to connect with the team on Instagram, there is a link to my personal one and the most amazing one in the description box. Alright, coming in at number 10, are you ready for this? The Babadook is from Monsters Inc. So we know that in Monsters Inc, monsters harness the screams of children to create power. Well, there's a theory out there on the internet that the Babadook is a monster from the Monsters verse. To be honest, Sam's screams could power a city. In the Babadook book, the monster comes from a closet, which is classic Monsters Inc. behaviour. Does Sam have his own door, and is the Babadook his monster? He's just a working monster like the rest of them, clocking in as 9 to 5. Then I have to say, maybe the gay icon Babadook with the smile and the colourful hat and sunglasses, maybe he could be the laughter era monster. See? It makes so much sense. Coming in at number 9, we have a huge aviation disaster and Edna Mode's death plot from The Incredibles. So Edna Mode is the woman who makes the superhero suits in The Incredibles, and if you remember correctly, she was very anti-cape.
Dinah guy. Oh, he had a great look. Oh, the cape and the boots. No capes.
Who can even blame her as well? We did learn that the superhero Stratogale died when her cape got sucked into a jet engine. This means that she also likely took the plane down with her too. A bird in the engine can do this to a plane, so a human, well, that's nasty. It is thought that the accident took place in 1989, forcing superheroes into hiding for 15 years until the film's release in 2004. So, the plane does look a bit like a United Airlines plane. We suspect that the incident happened in America. Could this plane crash have been the real cause behind the Denver to Chicago Flight 232 crash? Some people on the internet certainly think so. In that crash, 111 people died and 185 people survived. Beyond that, it gets even darker. It is thought that actually a cape was included on the villain of the movie, specifically so he would meet the same fate. What about the people on the planes though? What about them? Coming into number 8, did Andy's mum abandon Jessie? This one has done a few rounds across the internet, and it seems that Andy's mum, the sole parent in his life, may have been a callous toy abandoner. We know that Jessie was devastated when her previous owner Emily grew up and left her. Clues lie in Andy's hat, which looks way more like Jessie's. Could it have been a hand down from his mum? His mum also mentions Woody is an old family toy, a collector's item from the 1950s, so maybe her parents. When we see Emily's room, it looks like Jessie and Emily were together in the 60s or 70s, making Andy's mum the right age to have been playing with toys, assuming she's in her early to mid 30s when the first Toy Story came out in the late 90s. In the box that Jessie is bundled into, we see other cowgirl paraphernalia, but the hat isn't there. Was the hat handed down to Andy? It certainly looks like it. Also, look at this shot of Emily as a teen. Could this be Andy's mum? It could be. Coming into number 7, Riley's parents aren't okay in Inside Out. Well, that's pretty worrying, isn't it? During Disney Pixar's Inside Out, we get to see inside people's brains, and I kinda like that. Not only do we see inside Riley's brain, we also get a little glimpse at other people's, specifically her mum and her dad's. Now the interesting thing though is that when we peek into her mum's brain, we see that sadness is the leading emotion running the show, and that in her dad's brain, the alpha emotion is anger. So, her dad is angry and her mum is sad. That's pretty depressing, isn't it? We also hear his angry brain refer to her as simply woman, which he says in a derogatory way.
What? What is it, woman? What?
It doesn't actually really seem like from this quick snapshot that they're a very happy couple. There are other theories out there that Riley is adopted, but that isn't particularly dark or scary, so we'll leave that out for now. Coming into number 6, the bad guys are helping each other in Ratatouille and Up. Ratatouille is one of my favourite Pixar movies, especially because I love food, and a cooking rat is hilarious. I also loved Up, although I am not down with the character of Charles Muntz. He learned that dogs are sentient, and he basically then ends up abusing them as slaves slaves. How did Muntz even find out that animals can communicate and work with humans? Well, some people think that he was in cahoots with the villain of Ratatouille, Chef Skinner. So Remy the rat works with Linguini to create beautiful food, but when Chef Skinner finds out that Remy can cook, he tries to capture him and put him to work on a soulless frozen fast food project. In the end, Chef Skinner gets away, and the theory goes that Skinner flees France and heads to South America, where he met the villain Muntz and told him the animal's secret. With that information, Muntz is able to develop his collars. Also, does this snap from Ratatouille foreshadow it all? Possibly. Coming into number 5, Toy Story is promoting the Illuminati. There's nothing like a mid-list top 10 appearance of the Illuminati. It's classic, it's a tale as old as time. This honestly is a bit of a stretch for me, but some people are convinced that Toy Story has hidden Illuminati themes. I don't know though. There are straws to be clutched and people are gonna clutch them. People are pointing out stars on the wall of Andy's bedroom. Stars of course are made of triangles, and triangles are of course the ultimate symbol of the Illuminati. Also, inverted pentacles are a thing, and they're spotted in a toy store. There also seems to be a sun pyramid on display. Lotso also references pyramids, and Mrs. Potato Head has just one eye. Honestly, I do think this theory is ridiculous, and I don't believe that Toy Story is controlled by a murderous and elusive secret order, but maybe I'm a skeptic. After all, what was happening at Walt Disney's Club 33? Coming into number 4, Andy has no friends, and maybe he's a clone. There is something weird going on with Andy. Have a look at him. Here he is. We know that he loves playing with his toys, but does he actually have any friends? Sure, we meet them, right? But do we? There's a scene in which Andy is seen hanging out with his lad mates. The only thing is, they all have the same face. Andy's face. Even Sid looks a lot like Andy, just with different colour eyes. When Andy grows up, he looks a little different, but the theory goes that as a kid he didn't actually have any friends. He invented them in his mind. That, or he's a clone. Some people even think that Sid and Andy are related. Okay, listen, I don't like saying this as much as you guys aren't gonna like hearing it, but there are some darker sides to Toy Story when you really think about it. Get ready because I'm only gonna say this once. Coming in at number 3, the toys have all seen Andy masturbate. Good, great, can we move on now? No? Well, basically all the toys likely witness Andy's transition from boy to teen and all of the dark stuff that involves. Why worry your webcam is watching you when you have a room filled with eyes watching you until you finally get rid of all of your toys? But I have to say, even people I knew at university had a teddy on their bed, and that's pretty grim if you think that all toys are real and can see you. Stop watching me! Coming in at number 2, Sully was murdered and turned into a toilet seat cover. Okay, so in one of our Disney scary theories, we talked about how Zazu said to Mufasa that Scar would make an excellent throw rug, and then he turned up in Hercules as, well, a rug. Well, we can write that one off as karma. Yes, I think that hunting sucks, but Scar was the literal worst. You know who wasn't the worst though? Who was arguably actually the best? Sully of Monsters Inc. It seems unfortunately though that the lovable monster may have met the same nasty fate. In one scene of Monsters Inc., Randall, the creepy monster, explains to Sully why he hates humans. He says, "I've heard humans skin monsters and make toilet seat covers out of their fur." Sully's like, that's nonsense, and sure. Unfortunately though, in Pixar's short, Partysaurus Rex, we see a very suspicious looking toilet seat cover. Like, it can't be. Can it? Are the things just like Randall said? Did Sully make a mistake in trusting humans? Is he now dead and all that's left of him is his fur? Say it isn't so. Finally, coming into number 1, this is a bit like pondering black holes in the wider universe. Honestly, I am mind boggled. We have the Pixar theory. So the Pixar theory is a consuming mind melt of a theory that all Pixar movies are related and exist along a timeline of a shared universe. A really messed up universe. There'll never be enough time in any of our videos to tell you in depth how this works, but let me try and summarize for you. So it seems it all starts with Brave with the Will of the Wisps, aka magic. This magic interacts with animals, humans, and objects. A time loop is created by a magic witch who disappears through a door. It later turns out in the theory that the witch is Boo from Monsters Inc. The timeline spans from the 14th century right up to the 50th century with Monsters Inc. At one point, animals rise up to try and overthrow humans, but machines help the humans win. But then the remaining humans were sent off into space on a ship called Axiom amid a worldwide takeover from an evil corporation BNL. It goes on, but it's a mind melt. and it's a terrifying glimpse of the future. So guys, that was the top 10 scary Pixar theories part 2. Do you agree or disagree with any of these theories? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Before we wrap up, I just want to read some comments from part 1. Carrie Ann wrote, "Ooh, you gotta love a good Pixar theory." Good, I'm glad you do. This part 2's for you. Our channel member Dark Samurai said, Pixar does the best films in the Disney franchise. Honestly, I maybe kind of agree, I love the aesthetic. The Demon Inside said, my favourite Pixar movie is WALL-E, mainly because it's amazing, yet it has little to no talking. Honestly, I really like that too, it's kind of calm without the humans in parts. Dakota Tooley said, I didn't know that there was going to be a 4th Toy Story. Yes, I'm glad to have told you. There's going to be a 4th Toy Story and it comes out next year, so soon. Very, very soon. 2019 is going to be a big year for Disney and Pixar. So guys, that is the end of the video. Please do leave a comment if you want to be read out in the next vid. Also, please do like this video and share it with a friend. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, and I will catch you soon. Bye!